Ils vont l'emmener. Et il va griller!
2 more seasons of It, Welcome to Derry are supposedly on the cards, but the wait until HBO officially renews it seems so damn long. Just 1 week without Pennywise terrorizing the town and I already miss it. And of course I had to dig more information about the show, so here goes a list of scenes and alternate endings that did not make the cut.
No one wants to play with the clown anymore.
Paul Bunyan was supposed to be more than just a name. The welcome sign to Derry, Maine depicts a cut of Paul Bunyan, with a line stating that Derry was his birthplace. Ideally, Bunyan had a bigger part to play in the series than just being mentioned on a board. So, Paul Bunyan is actually a giant lumberjack and hero in American folktales, who was given a spooky twist by the author. The statue does exist in real-life Bangor, Maine, the town on which King based the fictional region of Derry. In the novel, Pennywise manipulated this huge statue to haunt Richard Tozier, and in no time a great everyone's childhood hero became a monstrous entity. Annie Muschietti had plans to create a subplot on the Paul Bunyan statue and had it all ready. A young reporter would come into Derry to investigate the Paul Bunyan statue controversy. By introducing this new character, Andy intended to bring in some fresh air. Because, being an outsider, she immediately saw what was wrong with the town. Things Derry's people turned a blind eye to. Missing children, tension everywhere. The journalist was supposed to be Derry's eyes and ears. However, over time, even she would have come under Derry's mystic influences and was supposed to turn into a complacent resident as opposed to an enthusiastic truth seeker. The reporter would have been a perfect example of what Derry can do. Interestingly, the reporter would have been Sonia Kasprak, Eddie's mother in the future movies. Sure, the town has a menacing history of people inexplicably dying, but this inclusion could have highlighted how Derry absorbs one's cognitive senses and creative powers. It would definitely fit the narrative arc, but due to time constraints, the entire side story had to be snipped out. The scene with the blue ox. The tales of Paul Bunyan are incomplete without mentioning his signature blue ox. In many places, Bunyan's statue is customarily accompanied by the animal. The ox initially had far more importance. In the same scrapped-out reporter storyline, Sonia was supposed to be haunted by a small version of Bunyan's ox, meaning the bullock would have been yet another form that Pennywise took. However, this version of it did not kill or use violence. Rather, it terrorized the reporter by slowly eroding her mental faculties, and cast a cloud of nonchalance and forgetfulness, which already shrouds Derry. The blue ox was intended to be an unsettling, surreal creature, creepily smiling and popping up in corners. In fact, in certain scenes, the bullock was meant to feature Bill Skarsgård's face. The maker wanted to portray Pennywise not just as an eater of flesh, but as something that swallows faith. Sometimes the loss of hope and resistance gave the deranged clown more pleasure than outrightly cracking open someone's skull. Sure, the creators managed to establish this idea in the narrative, but the ox never reached the screens. Neither did Sonia appear, and we missed out on experiencing how the very air of Derry turned her into a controlling and overprotective mother to Eddie, directly tying her to the It movies. Captain Paulie Russo was conceived to have a deeper story arc. Paulie Russo is the military man who was Leroy Hanlon's best friend. Yes, the one that got accidentally shot by Leroy and met with a tragic end. Andy admitted that the maker's wish was to explore Paulie's character in detail. Rudy Mancuso delivered a brilliant performance, and thus, it wasn't his lack of effort that brought about his on-screen death. The audience connected with Paulie easily. I feel it was mostly because of Leroy's bond with him, but yes, Paulie's character did have a lot of depth and potential. There could have been much more material written around him, and Andy now kind of regrets not doing so. At that point, he believed that Paulie's death was necessary, and there was barely any room to give him in the narrative. That means, in a different version, Paulie might have lasted longer and could have been a strong emotional anchor in the show. The title sequence was supposed to be different. The opening sequence of It, Welcome to Derry is something viewers can never forget. It was damn creepy. I mean, think about it. You see Pennywise haunting someone, and in the next moment, an apparently happy animated sequence is used for the title credits. However, it wasn't that cheery after all, because Andy made sure to fill it with Easter eggs, hidden Pennywise, and reference the creature's era of terror through Derry's history. All this with the 50s song "A Smile and a Ribbon" playing in the background. Andy originally thought of making the opening sequence a lot more gory. The part about the Kitchener Ironworks explosion was supposed to be shown in a much more grotesque manner, with a little girl's eyeballs popping out of her head. Though it would have been animated, Andy felt it was too much and thus toned it down. I mean, it could have been worse if the show was a live action, and personally, I think Andy could have just kept it. But the creators probably felt that it was too disturbing to be displayed at the start of each episode, and thus cut it out. Also, the song was initially meant to play over Marge in a montage where she would be getting ready for school. However, that scene was removed too. It was only after Randy Mancuso's suggestion that the song was kept and used in the title credits. Ronnie's Nightmare. One of the most haunting moments in the show was Ronnie's nightmare, the one where the poor girl saw her dead mother, who then accused Ronnie of killing her during childbirth. The scene was already disturbing, and I am glad they did not go with the initial concept designs, because trust me, that would have made bathroom visits at night terrifying. In early arts, the monster was meant to be even more dangerous, and there was one option where the bed itself folded inward like a monster's mouth. Thank heavens it was watered down. The alternate ending and epilogues. It, Welcome to Derry closed with a banger of an epilogue scene. It strengthened the connection between this prequel and the It movies. We saw Beverly Marsh, a young adult visiting Juniper Hill with her dad, only to see that her mother had hung herself. Soon, an old and senile Ingrid Kirsch appeared, saying the iconic dialogue of "No one who dies here ever really dies" to Bev.
No one who dies here ever really dies.
So now we know why Pennywise showed Ingrid enough deadlights, which did not kill her. Because it always wanted to use Ingrid to scare a grown-up Beverly, playing on the trauma of her mother's death. Now, Andy's actual plan was to have 4 epilogues featuring all the original members of the Losers Club from It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. However, the budget became an issue and the rest of the post-credits scene had to be deleted. Reportedly, the Muschiettis had to constantly save money on the visual effects budget to be able to film at least the one with Beverly. The idea was to throw better light on the connection between Bob Gray, Pennywise, Ingrid, and Beverly, the Losers Club member who would have the strongest connection to Ingrid. If not in the first season, Andy has assured viewers that Bob and Ingrid's storyline would be portrayed with more nuance in the following installments. To quote him, we would see how Ingrid was, quote, a victim but a perpetrator too. Moreover, the Hollywood strikes made matters worse for them. The cast and crew had to stop shooting after the first 3 episodes were done and return to the set months later. As a result, the climax had to be filmed in winter in the frozen lake setting as opposed to the actual plan of shooting in summer. Alright guys, that's all for today. I am not complaining about the show we got. It has been an amazing ride. However, the removed subplots could have proved interesting, especially by supporting the conjectures around Derry that it isn't just a haunted town. It's a place that controls and shapes people. Also, witnessing deeper character arcs wouldn't have made the show slow or boring. Rather, it could give a more psychological aspect to it. Ironically, just like Derry, the series also left much of the truth hidden. Let us know your thoughts on these deleted scenes and keep adding to the list if you find something new. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!